Hello, as always, Masha tells you stories and welcomes you to the 19th episode of a podcast film Gracia Artis, or just film if shortly. Here I share tales that inspire and reveal unique experiences of creators, makers, and lovers of all kinds. I hope you find this program interesting, whether you practice art or enjoy learning about how other creative souls deal with rebuilding, healing, reclaiming creative life after a crisis. If we dive into the psychological meaning of rebuilding oneself after a crisis, we find that reassembling one's inner self is about restoring coherence and vitality, especially when the inner structures that once held your life together have been shattered by trauma, loss, burnout, or deep uncertainty. It's not about returning to who you were, but about becoming someone who can hold what has happened, integrating the rupture into a renewed sense of identity. In psychology, this process is often connected with post-traumatic growth or psychological reconstruction, the journey through which people recover from crisis, gain deep empathy, insight, and authenticity. Post-traumatic growth is about gaining a positive psychological change experienced as a result of struggling with highly challenging life circumstances or trauma. It's not simply bouncing back, finding resilience, but transforming, finding new meaning and personal strength because of the trauma. Yet, the growth doesn't come from the trauma itself, it comes from the struggle to make sense of it, to rebuild one's worldview and to find new meaning after the event. People often report feeling stronger, more appreciative of life, closer to others, or having a deeper sense of purpose as part of this growth. We can find countless examples around us, and even more within the world of art, where life struggles and transformations often find their most vivid expressions. So today I offer you a dreamlike voyage across time and space. Close your eyes and imagine that now we are breathing the air of Vienna. The morning mist carries a trace of roasted chestnuts, the cobblestones, and the faint metallic scent of tram rails warming under the first light. You exhale slowly, and the city exhales with you. Somewhere, a violinist is tuning his instrument in a cafe courtyard. The echo of wheels and stone drifts through the streets like memory. Vienna hums, not loudly, but like something alive beneath the skin, pulsing softly with time. We begin to walk, past facades the color of old parchment, balconies trimmed in iron lace. Every corner seems to hold the shadow of an empire, the glimmer of art, the sign of time. You feel both the grandeur and the quiet melancholy of this city that has seen brilliance and collapse, beauty and exhaustion in the same breath. We follow the curve of the Ringstrasse, where history still shimmers like a reflection in rainwater. Then we turn toward a white building, crowned with golden leaves, the Secession. Above the doorway, words from another century whisper through the air. To every age, its art, to art, its freedom. You can almost hear Gustav Klimt's footsteps here, quiet, deliberate, as he left the academy behind, carrying scandal, defiance, and hunger for renewal. You blink your eyes, and the image changes. Now the streets grow smaller, quieter. We cross the bridge of tram lines and drift toward Hitzing, where the city softens into the gardens. The air is calmer there, brushed with lilac and dust. Behind a vine-covered wall stands a simple house, Feldmühlgasse 11, where Klimt lived and painted until the end. You pause at the gate. The windows are tall and white. Your mind imagines the scent of oil paint and linen, the gentle rusting of charcoal on paper. A beam of light falls across the floor, and in it, the ghost of gold dust shimmers like pollen. Here, Klimt rebuilt himself quietly, not through words, not through confessions, but through the slow rhythm of creation. Brushstroke after brushstroke, morning after morning, a man retreating his own life. And for a moment, as we stand here, breathing the same air, you can feel what it means to begin again, to turn storm into radiance, silence into pattern, and pain into something that glows. Imagine the paintings Klimt is known for, the keys and the countless number of magnificent landscapes, but the essence of them is invisible for the casual eye, to those who only see the facade, who walk past the golden surfaces and misty patterns without looking deeper. For the artist, these paintings were the periods of withdrawal, of facing inner ache and rebuilding from fracture. Through many creative responses to crisis, artists like Klimt exemplify how one can rebuild both the inner and the outer self, turning personal and professional struggles into renewed, coherent, and transformative expression. Yet many cannot see these thorny paths when simply observing paintings in galleries, without reading about the lives behind the art, without knowing the storms that rage unseen. The works can appear simply beautiful, ornamental, or decorative. But if you look deeper, you encounter an incredible storm with a crushing thunder, because everyone who faces a life crisis undergoes a series of stages of healing and reclaiming. These stages overlap and repeat, healing is spiral, not linear. A person may first experience shock and disorientation, the old life collapses, everything feels fragmented. The nervous system is overwhelmed. Some may feel numb, detached, or disbelieving. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Next, the psyche pulls inward to conserve energy. This can feel like stagnation or emptiness, but it's a necessary pause. Psychologists like Carl Jung called this the night sea journey, where the ego dissolves before transformation can begin. Gradually, the mind begins to ask, what does this mean? What can I learn? People often rebuild a new narrative that holds both loss and hope. This is the restoring phase. We edit our life story to include what has happened. Energy returns, but in new forms. Creativity, relationships, and purpose start to reawaken. Healing becomes active. Through expression, movement, art, or service, the self begins to reclaim vitality. Psychologists describe this as a state of emotional depletion or anhedonia, an inability to feel pleasure. The path out is rarely fast, but it involves reawakening the nervous system's capacity for aliveness, often in small, deliberate steps, such as restoration of the body, sensory re-engagement, creative micro-actions, feeling meaning through them, and compassionate patience. For someone, it might be hard to imagine how to recover after a storm, so let's picture Gustav Klimt after the scandal over his University of Vienna ceiling paintings, stepping away from the city's gaze. He retreats to his studio on the calm outskirts of Vienna, where the gardens and lakes stretch under soft morning light. He begins by restoring his body slowly. Morning walks along cobblestones, paths and riverbanks, swimming in the pale light, simple nourishing meals and deep restorative sleep. Each movement, each breath, reconnecting him with the tangible sensory world. In the studio, art becomes inseparable from recovery. Charcoal scratches line the walls, capturing feeling, gestures, and human forms. Watercolors shimmer, landscapes, portraits, swelling motifs is a private dialogue, a meditative tactile act of rebuilding. Through these media, Klimt threads body, mind, and creative spirit together, turning inner turmoil into rhythm, balance, and reflection. These are creative micro-actions, small deliberate acts that restore energy and focus. Thousands of sketches, tiny patterns, flashes of gold, intimate portraits of friends and muses. Each gesture quietly rebuilds trust with himself, with his eye, his hand, and the flow of his own rhythm. Repetition becomes meditation. Every movement is a ladder out of numbness, a ritual restoring vitality and purpose. Gradually, Klimt begins to reconnect with others. He shares his story not in words, but through his art, acknowledging presence, trust, and humanity. Within the Vienna session, small acts of collaboration, exchanging sketches, ideas, or decorative motifs allow him to listen, absorb, and feel part of creative community again. These quiet contributions rebuild belonging, turning isolation into companionship and purpose. Through these human and artistic connections, meaning returns. Bonds with close friends and Emilia Flöger, his lifelong use of emotional grounding and creative dialogue. In this way, connection itself becomes a pathway to renewal. All the while, Klimt demonstrates compassion, patience, and wisdom. He embraces the cyclical nature of creativity and life, understanding that stillness, reflection, and apparent stagnation are not wasted, but essential pauses repeating the ground of growth. Through repeated mindful engagement with body, mind, and art, he transforms turbulence into structure, chaos into rhythm, and solitude into fertile ground. In the end, Klimt's journey shows us that healing is spiral, not linear. His gold-leafed paintings, delicate ornamentations, and tender portraits are not just works of art, they are evidence that life's fractures can be transformed into coherence, resilience, cultivated through quiet, steady steps. Through such a process, an artist, and indeed any human being, learns to weave together experience, memory, and emotion, turning isolation into connection, pain into beauty, and fragility into enduring form. Now, let's leave beautiful Vienna behind and bring ourselves to where we are, the place you call home or the place you dream of making it. Imagine your greatest trouble, the weight you carry, and let us face it together, gently restoring your body and mind after the storm. Picture yourself retreating into your own quiet space, sitting in stillness, either alone or with someone you love. Through the window you may see a garden, a field stretching endlessly to the horizon, or the blue sea, whatever fills you with calm and light. As Edna St. Vincent Millay writes in her poem, all I could see from where I stood was 3 lone mountains and a wood. I turned and looked another way and saw 3 islands in a bay. So with my eyes I traced the line to the horizon, thin and fine, straight around till I was come back to where I started from. And in this quiet, tender moment, let yourself feel the nourishment it offers, the gentle restoration of energy, presence, and awareness. Reach for something that has always been your tool of creation, a brush, a pen, a needle, a guitar, anything that once gave you joy. When numbness has settled in, you may have thought it useless, unnecessary, even considered setting it aside. But now you feel again the power it holds, the spark it gives. You allow it to guide you for a step forward renewal. A brush stroke, a stitch, a note strummed, these small actions reconnect you to purpose, to life, and to yourself. You take a photograph of what you've created and you send it to a friend, a treasured soulmate. When their words of encouragement arrive, you feel seen, valued, recognized, supported. Again, you look through that you've drawn, stitched, and played, and feel the warmth of moving forward, of being different, and being alive. You thread your stormy thoughts into the canvas of self-restoration, giving them shape, grounding them, and reclaiming your energy. Sometimes, of course, the heaviness returns. You may stumble, but you remember that day, a quiet act of creation, and it gives you strength, proof that even in small, deliberate gestures, there is purpose and the possibility of a new beginning. And now, as we sit with our storms and our small acts that help us rebuild, let us feel the gentle rhythm of body, mind, and spirit return into life. Like Klimt, we move slowly, patiently, letting our creative acts guide us, weaving meaning into what feels fractured, turning isolation into connection, heaviness into presence. Millay reminds us of the vastness in each moment of awakening. The world stands out in either side, no wider than the heart is wide. Above the world is stretched the sky, no higher than the soul is high. Through reflection, creation, and connection, we expand our horizons, while our storms are transformed into golden threads of life. Breathe and feel the quiet strength of this moment. You're here, you are present, you are becoming whole again, and I will be back soon.